But have they been effective senators for progressive causes? I skipped some in there. He's also talking about Webb and Claire McCaskill. He totally jumps. He jumps the side of this. You know, he thinks they're better than Republicans. So, and I think he's fairly conservative. So I think he's fine with the Webbs in there. But you know, his defense is that it's a 30-year process to incrementally take control of government. You also write with respect for many of the campaign strategy Republicans have successfully employed over the years. How much of the book's advice was inspired by the tactics of Karl Rove and Tom DeLay? They're talking about his new book of, you know, I don't know, what's it called? Taking on the System, Rules for Radical Change in the Digital Era. It should be how to make money off of politics and not make a difference. I think a lot of my activities, the way I've organized and built my little operation, have been predicated on the right-wing example. I have immense respect for and even jealousy for what they've done. This is my problem with him. I don't think you can be a progressive Karl Rove. You know, like Karl Rove, when he was young, bugged his own office so that he could accuse his opponent of doing it. You know, you could win an election that way, but you can't be a progressive. You can't be, you know, that's corruption. So you can't be clean and progressive and run things that way. And Markos just wants to run things that way. Is there a risk, though, when you elect someone like Jim Webb, who people had a great amount of hope for, and he votes against the progressive position on key issues like FISA, that the progressive base or the activists might start to lose faith with the movement? No, you don't say. You don't say that Nader voters might have come from people that didn't like very conservative DLC Joe Lieberman as the vice presidential pick, that communicated to them that Gore, who could have been the DLC Gore, or the Inconvenient Truth Gore, he signaled, well, I'm the DLC business Gore, whereas he would have got those voters if he had been more of the Inconvenient Truth Gore. Yeah, I think so. I think that can happen. His answer is the goal is to build a governing progressive majority on any given issue. So we need 51 votes or maybe 60. So with Jim Webb, obviously we have 90 to 95% of what progressives want in a Democrat in the Senate. He means being a Democrat. I don't like Democrats. I don't give a damn if Democrats are in the Senate. What I want from the Senate is progress. I can't get it with Republicans, but if I can't get it with Democrats, no, they're not any better. Webb's better than George Allen, but yes, it is going to disenchant the progressive base. In the Feed the Backlash chapter, you write, stroking the flames of controversy brings visibility to your issues, raises your profile and effectiveness, and begins a cycle of ever-increasing attention that you can use to your advantage. Doesn't that lead to substance-free politics and meaningless controversies? Yeah, and stupid acronyms like PUMA, and stupid names like McCentury, and stupid little grammatical phrases like, you know, who's like 200 years old. You know, and that quote could use to your advantage to make money. Okay, he has not affected politics in any noticeable way. He's, you know, he's part of the manufacturing of consent now. They try to control their message. You know, you go on there, you can't freely speak your progressive ideas. You have to be on message and write like you're writing for a medical journal or something. It's ridiculous the amount of pride and hubris that that site and the people there that remain there have. He says, you know, a lot of things lead to substanceless politics, and that's the least of it. Look at the supposedly high-minded and respected journalists on Sunday morning talk shows who are wondering if Obama's too thin to be president. I have less of a problem with with a partisan going on and saying some partisan thing than I do this so-called respected and unbiased reporter saying the kinds of stupid shit they say almost minute by minute. I agree. Except for he's one of these people saying stupid shit now, and he thinks he has that kind of authority, you know, that his opinion carries authority. So why does he not have that responsibility? Why would Peggy Noonan have that responsibility, but not Markos Moulitsas? And he respects their system. Why? So do they. Why should they change it? The Salon says you endorse Barack. He says he didn't endorse, I supported. I didn't tell people how to vote. That's another thing. I mean, Markos really knows how to navigate those things where he acts the authoritarian, but claims he's just some guy on his blog. You know, he causes huge bannings of thousands of people because they want impeachment. and then says, no, it's not me, it's just the community speaking. Well, he banned me personally, and it was because I posted something that someone else had written at a different blog, in the diaries at the different blog, on Markos's business model, someone who had worked for Markos. I promoted it to the front page, which means taking it out of their diary and moving it to the front page. Normally you just see the title of that diary in a little scroll box on the side on the front page, and I moved the whole article there, and I got banned for that. He did not like that. But he says he doesn't think the Obama campaign would exist without the Netroots. I didn't have much coffee. I'm mispronouncing a million words here. Okay. What do you think DailyKos' role has been so far? How would the election have been different without the site? There would have been, political hobbyists with less, that would be missing a tool for killing time. But Markos, he's got the humble thing. He's very egotistical, but he's got the humble rhetoric down. So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend we're making or breaking people with my little operation. But he still doesn't think Obama would have beaten Hillary without the culture of participation. I think there's some truth to that. I do think the internet's making a difference. People talking to people, individuals talking to individuals. And that goes on at DailyKos. So DailyKos is a part of that. But it also goes on other people's blogs, on mailing lists, on the fact that we have peer-to-peer communication. It is changing politics. People can communicate laterally. And it's always been true of DailyKos. A lot of things, interesting things have been accomplished on DailyKos by individuals, like Cindy Sheehan. Markos tolerated it to build his traffic up. He tolerated the traffic at my left wing of Mary Scott O'Connor, but eventually turns on these people and tries to control the message, but all the while saying that it's just a free-for-all and it's just the people in the community decides. Now the last thing I don't get, they say you were known for your predictions. This is a guy who said in 2004 that obviously it was going to be either Wesley Clark or Howard Dean, and he said, don't trash them, don't go in the gutter with them. Everybody else, free game. Kerry won that, okay? So he's known for being wrong about predictions. Do you think Obama will win, and what do you think the Democrats' chance in the congressional elections this fall? He says, I think Obama wins, and I think he gets over 350 electoral votes. This guy has a terrible picking record. This prediction scares me. Luckily, he put in how many electoral votes. So maybe he can just be wrong on the electoral votes. There's no way Obama's going to get 350 electoral college votes. Okay, that's my prediction. No way. And it's going to be close in terms of if he can win or not. So I hope he's only wrong on the electoral votes and not on if Obama wins. I think the Democrats pick up, it's easier to say 4 or 5, but I'll go out on a limb and say they pick up 8 seats. 78 seats in the Senate, about 20, 30 in the House. I think it's been a huge, huge Democratic wave. See, the thing about Markos Moulitsas is he's pretty much always wrong. He follows the polls. This is another reason his site took off. Everybody was talking to each other in the diaries, but you come to that front page and he's always covering polls. So all the political junkies can spend at least a few minutes looking at the current polls. Markos believes them, makes prognostications based on them, and then it's all forgotten when he's just totally wrong. It's funny how reputations can grow like that. But I don't know of any successful predictions by Markos. So anyway, that's my commentary on Markos. I think some of my views on politics came out. I consider myself a progressive libertarian, actually, which is, you never heard of that? It's because I've made that term up. But I'm a libertarian. I believe we're pretty much all on our own, and that securing freedoms is the primary goal of our political system. But right now I have positions that you could call liberal because, for example, I believe in universal health care, and I don't believe in a single-payer system. I don't believe, you can't assume what that means. It's just that I think we should live in a system where everybody can get preventative health care and remedial health care. And I think, I have to admit at this point that that's considered a liberal position. But I'm not a liberal, dogmatist. It's just that I think we're in a position right now where to secure liberty and have a strong infrastructure, we're in need of some liberal policies. No, we don't need to have war with a bunch of countries on the planet. There's other things we need to do. But, I'm not fond of Democrats, because I don't think they're for progress either. I think they're very much for the status quo, and still I'm going to vote for Obama. I'm even getting excited about it. The guy has, you know, it was a great speech, his acceptance speech at the convention. He has contacts, some I don't like on the conservative side of things, some other people don't like on the liberal side of things. I think the guy might actually be the moderate he's claiming to be. I don't expect him to be some big progressive bastion, but then again, you don't have to be that progressive to bring us in a little bit of a progressive direction at this point. We're so far behind compared to the rest of the modern world on things like healthcare that, you know, you could be pretty centrist or conservative Democrat and still get us some things that we are behind on. So anyway, cheers. It's too long. It's going to be at least 3 videos, but that's that.